Chris Sims revealed his quarterback rankings. It's my favorite quarterback ranking of the year. He's really not beholden to consensus. He doesn't care what Jeremiah and Kuiper and all these other guys who always have the same exact ranking say. His is different, and his track record the last 3-4 years is impeccable. It's very good. He had Lamar Jackson number 1, Josh Allen number 2, Baker Mayfield number 3 that year. I mean, that's wow. Pretty good. And I think he had Justin Herbert I think he had number 2 after Burrow last year. So anyway, wow. He's good and he's thoughtful. So what I'm going to do is take you through his ranking and explain what he said and have you react to it. Okay? So he starts off with a controversial pick. He says number 1, and there's a clear difference. Like the guy's in a whole different tier. By far the best quarterback in the draft. BYU, Zack Wilson.
Ooh.
And I guess I've heard this around the league a little bit. Like some people think Zack Wilson's better. Well, he laid it out. And what he said is compared to Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. He said he has a phenomenal arm, that he can throw rockets all over the field, and he doesn't have to get momentum into the throws, that he can throw from any arm slot, and that he's quicker than Trevor Lawrence, has better mechanics than Trevor Lawrence. He basically said there's nothing he doesn't do poorly. And when I heard this, I was like, man, this is crazy. But later on when he's talking about Kellen Monde, I've been watching Kellen Monde, I feel like more than anyone in the world. That's my guy. And everything he said about Kellen Monde was right, 100% right. So when I listen to this, I'm like, man, I got a lot of problems with what you're saying about Zack Wilson. I also give this guy like more than begrudging respect. He really knows what he's talking about. I'd love to hear what you think of his take.
Man, I think the consensus is still Trevor Lawrence, but he is right. Like if you're looking at it from a NFL ready standpoint, Zack Wilson is the most polished quarterback coming out. So if you're in the win now mode, he also has high potential. So when you look at his ceiling, when you look at the mechanics that he's talking about, can make all the throws. The one thing I will question is Zack Wilson's size. I don't think he needs to bulk up.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing that Chris Sims pointed out as well. Like he'd like him to be a little thicker. He's 6'3", 210, but he says that's not that big of an issue in today's NFL.
Yeah, especially with the way the rules are dictated, as you pointed out earlier. But no, it doesn't surprise me that Sims would put Zack Wilson over Trevor Lawrence, because I think Trevor Lawrence gives the wow factor, the most explosive, sexy pick over any other quarterback. But if you're looking at it from a GM perspective, and you're, like I said, if you want the most polished quarterback coming out with little mental errors to work with, because he doesn't make mental errors or very mental lapses, I would say Zack Wilson would be the number 1 choice. Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, let me tell you where I would disagree with Sims, and tell me what you think. I mean, he said that Zack Wilson has Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes level arm strength. I disagree with that right off the bat. I don't think. I mean, what I see from him is a guy who it looks like 7-on-7 football. BYU, at least in 2020. Had an easy schedule and a good offensive line, and he had time and space. And when he did throw downfield, he kind of hitched into it and got some momentum and threw some rockets. But in the very few instances where there was a guy in his face, like against Coastal Carolina, you see the arm strength, it becomes not bad, but just more not Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers can throw lasers off his back foot all day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just snap throws off his back foot. Right. Mahomes too. I don't see that from Zack Wilson. So that to me was overstated. He never really accounted for the fact that Zack Wilson, to me, was playing 7-on-7 football in 2020. He's a one-year wonder. He didn't have great years before this year. And he called him like he's a pocket passer first, and like his first, second, and third options is to pass. I think he really likes to run. And I think he's going to scramble a lot in the NFL. And my issue is, look what happened to RG3. I mean, that guy's about the same size, and he tore his ACL, and he couldn't really stay. He was taking big hits before he tore his ACL. Kyler Murray's super quick and elusive. You can't catch him. Russell Wilson was that way when he was young. I don't think Zack Wilson is going to be running circles around NFL defenders. I think he's going to get hit hard, and I question his durability playing this way in the NFL. That's what I say.
No, you agree. I agree.
Yeah. So one-year wonder, BYU, real scary. I think I agree that he has more upside than Trevor Lawrence because he does have a lot of upside. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has proven it for 3 years. He's been a starter for 3 years. He won a national championship. I would just put Trevor Lawrence number 1. But what he says is that played on an all-star team. You know, anytime things were going bad, he could just dump it off to Travis Etienne or hand it to him. He's even said his mechanics are a little off. He said he's not one of the best throwers in the league. He's more of an athlete, and he is a pretty good athlete, but he's not even as athletic as Justin Herbert. He basically said he's kind of like Justin Herbert, but Herbert is better.
Ooh.
What do you think of that? That's a little harsh.
Yeah, from a pure athletic standpoint, I would take Trevor Lawrence any day of the week over Justin Herbert. I'm sorry. Give me Trevor
Herbert's
Lawrence.
A little thicker, maybe a little thicker. Trevor Lawrence like 6'6", 220. But still, I mean, geez, the guy's won huge games. He won a national championship as a freshman. I think he's gonna be really good. And I'm not certain that Zack Wilson is gonna be really good. It's gonna be a big difference going from BYU to the NFL in terms of the pockets he's in and the speed of the defense. Trevor Lawrence has proven it against teams like Alabama.
Right.
So that one to me, I give Christian a ton of respect. He's usually right. But I was like, wow, I think that's wrong. Anyway, number 3, he has Mac Jones. And what he says
I'm an Alabama guy.
I like Mac Jones too. He says the guy's way better than I thought he'd be. His ability to get from A to B to C in the progression is the best he's seen. It's up there with Joe Burrow. And basically, he's a lot like Joe Burrow, but not quite as good. But not that much off either, is what he was saying. He's got really quick feet, great ability to process, accurate, arm strong enough. What do you think?
Yeah, all those things. And one thing, I'm a huge Alabama fan and watch him since last year. But one thing you really have to take into account, again, is the fact that he stands tall in the pocket. Like when he is facing adversity and pressure in his face, does he stand tall in the pocket and still deliver a strike in stride to the receiver? Too many people put stock in a player's accuracy. Well, it all comes to the college system that they're in. Right. A lot of times they're in a spread formation. But at the end of the day, it's almost like this. How do you grade accuracy is based on where the ball is being thrown on the proper shoulder or in stride. So that way the receiver can run after the catch without making choppy steps coming in and out of his breaks. And that's what Mac Jones does. He throws to receivers in stride, whether it's John Mechie, Devontae Smith, or someone else. I mean, Jalen Waddle, you name it. Miller Forrestall coming down the seams. He throws always in seams and down and in stride. So it's really interesting to see when people knock Mac Jones for his lack of accuracy when he's the most accurate quarterback, in my opinion, in this draft.
Yeah, he's extremely accurate. He seems like he always knows where to go with the ball by the time he hits his back foot, which is good. I mean, Jimmy's not like that. Jimmy Garoppolo's not like that. I mean, really, I think it's a skill. I'm not sure that it's necessarily coachable, because if it were, Jimmy Garoppolo would have improved the last 4 years. I think some quarterbacks see it quickly, some quarterbacks process quickly, and others don't. And this guy clearly does. So when people say he has no physical gifts, well, that's depends on how you think of mental processing. That's a physical thing going on in your brain. It's like how your neurons are firing, how you react to the data presented to you. Some people react quicker. It's not about like your ability to figure out a trigonometry problem. It's just how you react quickly.
Right.
How you digest information. And Mac Jones does it. The only thing with Mac Jones is, and he's not big. And for a pocket quarterback who's not mobile really either, he's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady and that 6'5" frame, it helps him. It helped Phillip Rivers. It helped Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, it's going to help Kyle Trask, who's freaking huge. To me, when the pocket, not even when there's pressure, but when it just constricts, he looks tiny in there. And I think he really did benefit from that great pocket that he had at Alabama. That's my only question.
Yeah, I mean,
only question.
You can't knock the offensive line. I mean, that Alabama offensive line is freaking probably the best in the college football, right? You have Landon Dickerson.
A lot of play action that worked wonders because of Najee Harris. Yeah.
Right. So it's just going to be interesting because you have to project, and that's not our job, thank God.
Yeah. See, to me, like I love everything about the way he throws, but the question is, how is he going to be in the NFL around NFL athletes with bodies around him? Because I love the way Jared Goff threw at Cal. I mean, he was great throwing the ball, but the issue with Jared Goff is what happens when bodies are around him. He kind of folds.
Right.
And that's why it's so tough, really scouting a quarterback at Alabama. Like, how many reps are you really going to see where he's swarmed? Like they don't let that happen to their quarterbacks. No. All right. So the next one he has is Kellen Monde, number 4. And he goes on and on. I mean, he even is more enthusiastic than I am, but now I'm as enthusiastic as he is. He says basically he's got a special arm. He can make any throw. He's accurate. I agree. He's got a lot of drops from those wide receivers at Texas A&M. The offense stunk. He lost one game in the SEC this year. It was to Alabama. Had 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, ready to start right away. And that basically he says he's a better passer right now with better mechanics than Trevor Lawrence, and is a good athlete who basically his one knock is that he doesn't use his athleticism enough. He tries too hard to like stay faithful to Jimbo Fisher's terrible offense, or he can actually go off script and use his gifts more. And that he's a little too mechanical and tight with his upper body. Seems like he's the kind of guy that could Sims feels could really have potential unlocked in the NFL. And I freaking agree. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Kellen Monde, although I'm not as high in him as I am like a Zack Wilson or Mac Jones or even a Trevor Lawrence, mechanically, you have to put Monde above Trevor Lawrence. Again, Trevor Lawrence mechanics are really questionable. And when you watch the game film, really slow down the plays and from a pure pocket passer mentality, right? Obviously, he's a dual threat quarterback, but if you're looking at him from a pure pocket passer presence, you will notice fundamentally mistakes that you don't see in Kellen Monde's game or you don't see in Zack Wilson's game. I think that comes with poise. I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence isn't poised. I'm just saying there's certain things that you can catch when watching Trevor Lawrence as opposed to Kellen Monde. Kellen Monde can make all the throws. I mean, I think that's one thing we are not going to question. Like the guy has a strong arm.
There's no question about it. He's got a cannon.
And
quick release. He's accurate, especially over the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Great point. So yeah, I mean, I know you're high on Kellen Monde, and like I said, it doesn't surprise that Sims says this because at the end of the day, he's looking at it, I can tell from a mechanics perspective based on these rankings, and I'm not surprised that Trevor Lawrence isn't last based on mechanics.
It's interesting. Well, he crushes the next two guys for the mechanics, but I mean, he's basically saying that his guy's Mond's stock is going to rise highly. And I see it like Kaepernick was the 36th pick in the draft. That's probably right around where Mond's going to go. If Jordan Love was the 26th pick, this guy's better than Jordan Love. I'm telling you, he's better than Jordan Love. He's actually really good. Yeah. And you saw it in the Senior Bowl. Finally, you get an NFL type offense with some future NFL receivers, and boom, he's the MVP. So I like that. I like that ranking. Monde number 4. And then he has Justin Fields number 5, and he says, look, the guy's raw. Really good athlete. Guy's raw. With Monde, he said he gets from A to B to C really efficiently. And I think he's probably the second best at doing it after Mac Jones. I haven't watched a lot of Trevor Lawrence, but A to B to C processing speed, he does it like a pocket quarterback, but he's an athlete. He has athleticism that Mac Jones doesn't have, which is why I think I even prefer Kellen Monde to Mac Jones. What he says about Justin Fields is, first of all, he doesn't get from A to B to C quickly. He stares at A for a long time, and if it's not there, he panics and runs. That's what I see as well. And he says his mechanics are all over the place, that he has really impressive throws where he'll, bomb a 60-yard post, but he's just really inconsistent from throw to throw because he's really loose with his arm. He's just very loose is what he does. Same thing with Dwayne Haskins. What do you think of that?
Ooh, Dwayne Haskins comparison?
Just in terms of the way they throw.
Yeah. I think Justin Fields is raw. I'm just going to echo what Sim says because he hits it on the nail. Anything that he's good. Like he's good. How can you say Justin Fields is not raw? Like when you just watch him play, he's playing backyard football. And that's not, that may be his game. I mean, there's some players that play well that way.
He's just making plays. He's not really executing.
He's not. He's more reading and reacting, right? So it's almost like, okay, I don't care if the pressure comes. I'm going to find an open receiver some way, somehow. That's not going to work.
I'll hold the ball long enough and a receiver will become open and I'll find him or I'll run.
Right.
That's the way I see it. Like when you watch the coach's tape, you can really see who's open on a given play. You can put it in half speed. I like to put it in slow motion, and I like to pause it right when he reaches the top of his drop. What are you seeing when you reach the top of your drop? You can see who's open. You can see if he's looking at him, and you can see how long it takes him to find someone who's open. And with Mac Jones, it's remarkable how consistently he finds the open guy by the time he gets to the top of his drop. Same with Kellen Monde. With Justin Fields, it's remarkable how infrequently he finds the open guy by the time he gets to the top of his drop. He's looking somewhere, the guy's not open, and he stares and stares. It's like, come on, man, get open, get open. No. And then by the time he moves on, it's late. His internal clock to me is slow, and maybe that's not his fault. Maybe that's an Ohio State thing. But whatever, they didn't prepare him for what he's going to have to do in the NFL. He seems raw. He's going to need some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that Jimmy Garoppolo has problems with, right? Going through his progressions, he always scans one side of the field, doesn't look to the other side. Defense and secondary and defensive backs can cheat over to that side, knowing full well that they can just leave backside pursuit wide open. It's crazy.
Right. And if Jimmy can't improve on that part of his game under 4 years under Kyle Shanahan, then Shanahan has to know that he can't coach that up in Justin Fields if Justin Fields doesn't have it. I don't know if Justin Fields, it might be the Ohio State offense, but he hasn't shown it. You can't really know one way or another. So you're drafting him based on faith that he can do it. I wouldn't take that leap of faith. No Ohio State quarterback has been able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place you go to win a Heisman Trophy and get drafted high, but it stunts your growth and you'll be a bust. So that's a scary pick to me.
Right.
And then finally he had Trey Lance, and he said, say what you want about Justin Fields, but this guy's even more raw. I mean, he hasn't played enough games. He's got a really strong arm, maybe better mechanics than Justin Fields, but he does not even go through progressions. He's a one read and run guy. Justin Fields tries to go through progressions and is just slow about it, in my opinion. It's very A, B, but Trey Lance is A. I'm running. It's almost like Vince Young, but faster, I guess. I totally agree with that. I don't see it with Trey Lance. That's a scary pick because you're going to have to take him high.
Yeah. And these quarterbacks are going to be pushed up the board, Grant. It's going to be really interesting to see how the top of the draft plays out because it's going to get interesting and it's going to get fun.
He said he thinks all 6 quarterbacks go round 1 that he listed, which is interesting because historically 2 will be great, 1 will be good, and 3 will freaking stink, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting. Who knows? It could be Lawrence and Mac Jones, who are great, Kellen Monde, who's good, and the other 3 are flat out busts, or some other, who knows? Zach Wilson makes me very scared though, because he's basically, you're taking a guy who had 1 great year during a pandemic, who faced the easiest schedule of his time at BYU. I would feel more comfortable taking him at number 2 if he went back to BYU and did it again, but he's not going to do that.
Yeah, no.
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that, bro?
Why would you do that?